Good afternoon, Chair. We are live and streaming.
Yep. Good. Mark, your microphone's turned off.
Ah, that's better.
Better. Thanks.
Sorry about that. I was trying to keep quiet. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting of the City of Adelaide Council Assessment Panel meeting. Thank you for your patience and understanding tonight as we meet remotely under these COVID-19 conditions. We had to arrange this meeting this way last week, and having got things in place after the announcements later in the week, we felt it better to keep it in this format to reduce confusion for you, and also with the volatility of the situation, who knows where we might have been tonight. So thank you for your patience. We'll just take things a little bit more slowly to make sure everybody who needs to be heard and say things can have that opportunity. So my name's Mark Adcock. I'm the presiding member of the panel, and we have a full panel tonight, and I'll introduce them to you. Hopefully they're on your screen. Councillor Aman Abrahimzadeh, Mr. Mark Duncan, Ms. Colleen Dunn, and Professor Mads Gardbo. So welcome everybody. I declare the meeting open and advise that the meeting of the panel will be streamed live to the City of Adelaide website, and a recording will also be published on the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being undertaken of the meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside of Australia. Our first item of business tonight is to consider the minutes from the last meeting held on the 28th of September. Do we have consensus that those minutes can be taken as read and confirmed as an accurate recording of the proceedings? All those in favour? Yep. Yep. All right, good. Thank you for that. So we've adopted the minutes of the last meeting. Next on the agenda are two non-complying development applications. The first one is a DA 323 of 2020, which is at 154 Gover Street, North Adelaide. And this is for the construction of a rear addition on top of the existing garage. It's an application that we had previously considered in terms of proceeding with an assessment of the application. The application was publicly notified as a Category 3 and no representations were received. So accordingly, we don't have any representatives appearing before us today. I don't know if the applicant is present in the room. Mr. Troy Owen, I think, may be there. If you are, can you make yourself known, please? No, I'm going to assume you're not there.
No, Chair, he hasn't signed in.
Thank you, Judy. So we won't have the opportunity to ask the applicant of any questions. Nevertheless, we'll proceed. Members, this is an application that would normally require concurrence of SCAT, but under the COVID regulations, I believe that's no longer applicable at the moment. So we've got a recommendation before us to approve the application. And would anybody like to make any comments, ask the staff of any questions, or indeed to move the recommendation?
I'm happy to move the recommendation, Mark.
Thank you. All right. Well, look, let's get that on the ground. We don't formally move and second, but we'll put the recommendation. Does anybody wish to make any comment before we put that to the vote? Yes, Mads.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that this development sort of pushes the limit, especially in terms of the plot ratio, and it does affect one of the neighbors. However, we have had no challenges to this proposal, because the structure is on top of the garage, there's no effect on the open space either. So I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Mads. I think that probably echoes the way most of us feel about this application. Any other comments, questions?
Mark, I just wanted to say that I think this is a better solution than what we saw before, in that they've changed the materials of this to reduce the bulk of particularly the northern facade, and I think it's a good solution.
Good. All right. Thank you, Colleen. All right. Look, I'll put that recommendation to the vote. All those in favour, please indicate. Good. Thank you very much. Aman, I can't see you, but you're in favour?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's unanimous. For observers in the gallery, item 3.1 has been approved now. It's been recommended for approval and has been approved with conditions, and that approval will be effective without needing the concurrence of the State Planning Commission. Move on to item 2.2, which is application number 565 of 2020. This is also a non-complying application at 162 to 170 Pulteney Street, Adelaide. And this is to change the use of the licensed premises from mini golf, I think it was Holy Moly, to now a licensed entertainment premises and amusement machine centre with associated signage. Members, we're not determining the application tonight. We're determining whether the application is worthy of proceeding to a full assessment. So any decision we make tonight is not committal to the merit or otherwise of the proposal. It simply is an indication that it's not so far off beam that it shouldn't at least be assessed against the development plan. And that is the recommendation we have before us, that we proceed with an assessment. Would anybody like to make any comment before we consider that recommendation? No, I think that's fairly straightforward. So we'll put that to the vote. Good, I can see everybody. Those in favour of the recommendation as printed, thank you. That's carried unanimously. All right, so item 2.2 is approved as recommended, which is that the matter be dealt with for full assessment. Item 3.1 on tonight's agenda is a proposal at 62 to 66 Hurtle Square. This is a variation to an application that we considered not that long ago. This application was DA 295 of 2020/A. And the variation is to add 2 further stories essentially to the development. There are other bits and pieces as outlined in the agenda. This was a Category 2 application and 4 representations were received. And just at this point, I'd like to note that in the agenda that was circulated, one of the representations was not included, which was from an M&I Llewellyn Smith, and that representation has subsequently been distributed to us. We've all received a copy of that. It was in fact a supporting representation. And in addition, there were some shadow diagrams which were not included in the agenda papers, which we have now received and had the opportunity to look at and consider prior to tonight's meeting. So I just think it's necessary to acknowledge that those things have changed since the agenda was printed and distributed. Another thing that's changed is that one of the representors, comprising 2 people, Mr. and Mrs. Anthony and Sarah Leggett, had elected to appear before us tonight, but for various reasons they're unable to do that. That doesn't mean that they've withdrawn their representation, and we will have due regard to that, I'm sure. So, members, I believe the applicant, Mr. Andrew Hudson and Greg Vincent from Master Plan, are on standby if we have any questions. So perhaps I'll kick it off that way. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant in this matter?
Mark, I have a question.
Yes, Colleen.
I'm just curious to know why they removed the inset on the southwestern corner. The previous application had an inset off the boundary wall, which allowed for light and ventilation into the units, whereas now they're relying on borrowed light. And I'm just wondering what the intention with that was.
Thanks, Colleen. Are you happy for that to be put to the applicant to comment on?
Happy to provide an answer, Presiding Member.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Andrew
you, Greg.
Hi, Andrew Hudson here. Through the Presiding Member, the question re the change to the western facade or elevation relates to a change in plans. So in the previous scheme, there was a different floor plan that relied on light from that recess. Now there's a light void and a study in the corner on that one apartment type. And so the presentation of this application or this variation is more in the round. If one looks at all 4 elevations and all of the 3D models, one will see now that because it's slightly taller, it's been elevated to appear in the round, all the way around, because it now does just peak up above the buildings on Pulteney Street in perspective view and Gilly Street. But it's, what can I say? It's a variation. It accords with all the good design practice and building code requirements, but it is different to what was previously approved.
Okay, thank you.
What it also does is removes windows from that western elevation, obviously from an environmental perspective. Heat load into the western elevation with the windows now being north-south and partially shaded. So there's some additional benefits in that design.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew and Greg. Members, just a reminder that we are only considering the variation matters before us. There is an underlying approval which stands, and we can't go back and review things that haven't changed, but we can certainly consider the variations as they've been put to us. Any further questions of the applicant or staff, or would you like to make some comments? No one's indicating anything. All right, okay. Members, we've got a recommendation before us to approve this variation. I'll put that to you now. And if you could please indicate by show of hands if you are in favour of the recommendation. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. That's going to be a unanimous decision. So for members of the gallery, the panel has just approved item 3.1, which is the variation to the 7-storey building at Hurtle Square, which is now approved as a 9-storey building, and other minor variations. That will be published shortly in the minutes of the meeting. So thank you for your interest and attendance on that matter, and thank you for your assistance from the applicant. Members, item 3.2 is an application at 121 to 123 Jeffcott Street. It's DA 434 of 2020. And this is about the installation, or a retrospective approval, I should say, for the installation of a privacy screen on top of an existing boundary wall. The application was notified as a Category 2, and one representation has been received. I understand that representative wishes to address us tonight. Do we have online Mr. Ryan and Ms. Ogg?
At this point in time, Chair, they have not joined the meeting.
Okay, they haven't joined the meeting. Very well. Something's happened. Members, looks like we won't be hearing from the representative, but we certainly have their representation in our papers to consider. Members, I'll just check. I believe the applicant, Mr. Baker, is present.
Yes, hi. Hi all.
Hi, Mr. Baker. Thank you. We're not going to ask you to say anything necessarily or respond, but what I will do is I'll give the panel members an opportunity to ask you any questions should they feel as though they need further information.
Could I just clarify what documents the council has? I have a number of documents here, and I just wanted to make sure that they had the same documents available.
Have you seen the agenda as printed online?
I have.
And they're the documents we have.
Okay, there's a number of correspondence that was between myself and a Mr. Phil Christomu. And I was just curious because he'd raised a number of matters that were relevant to his recommendation, and they're the matters I was hoping to touch on. And
are you saying we don't have those?
That's what I was hoping to clarify, what documents you actually have. You should have an objection of Mr. Ryan. I have that dated 27 September. You have my response to the objection, which is the 12th of October this year. Then you should have an email from the senior planner, Mr. Christomu, dated 28 October. That was sent at 4:35 p.m. And that refers to a council-wide PD 27, which is a requirement that there at least be 2 hours sunlight into a lower level room per day. And also refers to an intention or plans to have sun studies. I haven't seen any such studies. It says in his email that he was in the process of modelling up the proposal to look at shadow impacts, but I haven't seen any material from that. I'm not sure if the council has. And finally, you should have my letter of response, an email of 29 October, which is sent at 12:44 a.m.
Okay, I believe I did see some sun studies.
Can I answer that, Mark, please?
I've got the agenda electronically, so it's very hard for me to flick through and confirm.
Yeah.
that.
Can I
you
answer that question, please, Mark?
Please do.
Yeah. The report actually has the studies that we did in terms of the sun shading analysis in the body of the report.
I thought so. I thought I'd seen them.
So
Yes.
each page has existing without, and then without and then with.
Yes. All right. And the other emails that Mr. Baker
Everything that
referred-
is as part of the attachments.
Okay. All right. Great. Can I just touch on a couple of things? And am I able to share share screen a picture?
No.
We don't. It's not normally allowed for you to make a submission to us. You've lodged everything you've got in your application, and you're going to present new material to us, which maybe the representator hasn't seen. So we wouldn't normally allow that. Your role here is really an invitation to respond to any new material the representator wishes to present to us.
Right. Okay.
So if you want to introduce new material, we might actually have to not consider the application, because that wouldn't be fair, and that's not normally the role we're playing tonight. You would have had opportunity to do that previously.
Right. I was just going to share some images so that you can have a proper understanding of the development and
Look, I understand that. We've got a lot of, I think I have a fairly good understanding of what's there, and I'm sure the other panel members too. But
Okay.
why don't I see if they've got any questions of you,
Sure.
and then you might be able to explain something.
Thank you.
Members, you've got all the information. You've heard what we've just discussed. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask Mr. Baker as the applicant?
No.
No, thank you, Mark. Colleen, you're happy with the information? Yes. Mads and Aman, I can't see you on screen at the moment.
Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no particular.
Thank you, Mads. You're just breaking up a little bit there. All right. Well, I think we must proceed then as we normally would. I would open the item up for discussion. As I said, this is a retrospective application, and we have a recommendation before us that consent be refused, and that's outlined and detailed in the report. Members, do you have any further questions of staff or any discussion or comments you'd like to make?
Mark, if I might.
Mark, yes, then Helen. Sorry, Colleen.
So I was just going to open up and say that I don't agree with the recommendation of staff. I think PDC 27 is the main principal development control here, seeking to maintain the 2 hours of direct light to habitable windows. And it's pretty clear that that there is enough sunlight provided to the windows. Notwithstanding that it's not an outcome that I personally would have, but unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, the development plan doesn't say what my personal preferences are. I just don't think there's enough in the development plan to refuse what is relatively basic ancillary domestic structures. Again, it's not what I would do to my house, but again, that's not the test, and I don't think that PDC is sufficiently infringed to warrant refusal. And I guess the PDCs that are used in support of the refusal are, I think, not as direct. So I think the specific always outweighs the general in terms of the development plan provisions and its interpretation. And on that basis, I'd move that this application be approved rather than refused.
All right, thank you, Mark. We'll test that with other members, and then at the end of a discussion, I've probably got a question myself for the applicant. Colleen, did you wish to say something?
Thanks, Mike. Look, I think the screens fail to serve the purpose of privacy screening that the applicants seek. And I think that the Representator has done everything required of them in that they've got opaque glass to the north-facing windows. They've got a screen on the balcony which is higher than required. And I think that these screens are to the Representator's detriment, and it reduces really the minimal amount of sunlight in winter that the lower living areas would receive. So I support the recommendation for refusal.
Thank you, Colleen. Mads, I can see you and I saw your hand.
I hope you can hear me too. Now, sort of when I looked at this proposal, there sort of seemed to be little reason for a dispute here. I mean, the screen doesn't make any obvious difference to the applicant's privacy. And again, I didn't see any obvious detrimental effect on the representative's property. I think it is a dispute that's rather unnecessary unless I missed something quite significant. I'm therefore, if I should choose between the two, I would probably accept the recommendation.
That is to refuse the application.
Yes.
Thank you, Mads. Aman, did you wish to make any comments?
Yeah, I too would support the recommendation. So the application be refused. And I guess I'll make a quick comment around the screen. From my perspective, I think the need for that screen will, well, the intention there is to increase privacy, and I think the need to increase privacy will cease to exist when when the construction of the new dwelling is completed. So I can understand it as a temporary measure, but once it's completed, I don't know whether if it's serving a purpose. So I'm happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you, Aman. Members, I did have a question of the applicant, which I should have asked before all of that, obviously, but I forgot. So I'm going to ask it anyway, and if you've got further questions or comments to make, depending on the answer, you're welcome to say so. But Mr. Baker, I have understand or derived from the agenda item that you perhaps erected this screen to protect your privacy during construction of the development next door. But now that that's complete and we've already referred to what measures have been taken next door to protect your privacy, why? So we're all thinking, well, the screen doesn't actually impact on your privacy. That's what we're thinking, but you obviously don't agree,
I think
and you don't want to remove it. Can you just sort of explain why you don't want to remove it?
I think there might be a misunderstanding. There are two aspects. One was overlooking from a balcony, and that's not concerned here with this application.
Right.
But it's actually from their living space. The floor level's slightly higher next door, and so you can actually see through into our backyard from the lower level, from their living space. I don't think people don't quite appreciate that. I think some of the photos that have been produced, they show this very steep upward looking photograph from the representative has put in, but they actually don't quite appreciate that with the existing wall, one can stand in their living space and look into our backyard. And I think that's perhaps the misconception here. It's not limited to the upper level. This screen has no effect whatsoever on the balcony and their ability to view down on us. It's really from the lower level. And I was hoping to share a photograph with you to sort of unwrap that, but I understand that you can't receive further material. But.
All right, thank you. So your proposition is still that there is an issue of privacy from the ground floor without the screen.
Yeah, and it's the rear of our property, and it's where, because it's by our kitchen and living space, it's where the kids, we have 3 kids, age 3, 10, 11, but it's our 3-year-old in particular. It's her area because she likes to be close to her mother, and we don't like the idea of someone looking into the space where she plays.
All right, thank you for that. Members, I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask any further questions or comments as a result of that response. But before I do, Judy has just advised me that the Representator is now in attendance at the meeting. So whilst it's a little bit out of our normal order, they have indicated that they wish to be heard and certainly do have that right. Are you happy, even though it's out of order, for me to allow the Representative to address us if they wish? They may not wish to, but I'll ask them.
I assume you're directing it to me. If so, yes, I'm content.
I was directing that to the other members of the panel.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, please.
Yep.
That's fine, Mark.
Yep. All right. Mr. Ryan, are you with us at the meeting? Are you online?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Wendy is also here.
Good, thank you. Look, we can't replay what's just happened, but you are entitled to address us for 5 minutes. And if you wish to do that, I'll invite you to do that now. And then members may have questions of you. So was that your intent, to address us on the matters, or are you just here to observe?
We'd like to say something, please.
All right. Note, if you are going to address us, I will need to invite the applicant, the applicant to provide any further response they wish to in light of information you may have told us. So with that in mind, please go ahead and please try and keep your comments to about 5 minutes.
Yes,
thank you.
We apologise for the lateness. We had our power cut off.
That's no good.
We've had to find another venue. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to speak at the meeting. We want to begin by stating that we respect everyone's privacy, including our own. We want to reiterate that there's definitely no overlooking from either our ground floor or first floor balcony onto the neighbouring grounds. Our balcony screen, which prevents any overlooking, is larger than required by Adelaide City Council regulations and provides 100% privacy to both sides. There is no possibility of overlooking from our balcony into the Bakers' grounds. This has been ascertained by a visit to the site from an Adelaide City Council Planning Assessment Officer. The screen on the wall serves no overlooking purpose whatsoever. At ground level, there was already a 2-metre high masonry wall between our properties. No one can overlook such a height. As this is the maximum height allowed by Adelaide City Council for these fences, adding a further 80 centimetres contravenes the regulation, and furthermore, it shadows our winter light. There's also, the masonry wall in this dispute is predominantly on our property, as substantiated by a qualified surveyor. It is not appropriate to seek consent for building works on another person's land. There's also been an instance of prejudging our house before the build is complete. Upon completion, all measures are in place to prevent overlooking. We have had to take advantage of the 7-metre length of that 2-metre high masonry wall for getting the required amount of winter sunlight, as the remainder of the wall, which is 18 metres in length, is 3 metres high and blocks almost all light. Our family room was specifically designed to capture maximum light in that direction. We do not wish to have neighbourly relationships this way. We are open to respectful discussions regarding problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Did you want to add anything in your remaining minute?
No, that's all we had.
Thank you. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions of the Representator based on that presentation? I can't see you all, so speak up, please.
Mark, can I just ask the Representator, the applicant has suggested that your living room area floor is higher than his property, and so that the 2 metre high wall that you can, from inside your property, you will be higher and that you can see over the 2 metre high wall.
As I said, a representative from the planning assessment officer came and ascertained that there is no overlooking from the inside of our home.
Thank you.
The bottom of the wall is almost level with the bottom of our floor, with our floor level. There's
okay.
No significant difference.
All right. Thank you.
Any further questions, members? No, I think we've got it fairly clear. Mr. Baker, I do need to allow you to further respond, but if you could please keep it brief, given you've already had a significant opportunity. But you've heard what the representatives have just told us. Is there anything further you'd like to say to us?
I don't think any new matters arise from what was said that I need to address. As I've said it all along, it's just an issue of privacy that my wife and I would like to protect our young children, and we feel most uncomfortable about, I dispute the fact about being able to look in, and we feel most uncomfortable about it. I wouldn't have erected the structure if it were not for the overlooking issue and privacy. So I'd much prefer if it wasn't there, but privacy for us takes precedence.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any further comments or questions of the applicant, or any further comments given the new information? Aman.
Chair, I've got a question. This might be best directed at staff though. Do we know what the level difference is between the new dwelling and the existing dwelling? The finished floor levels?
Yeah, we've just been looking at the plans that were approved for the subject dwelling and the site levels next door, and the levels are marginally different. If you just bear with me one moment, I'll just get the exact level. Just won't be one moment. Okay, the finished floor level of the dwelling is 100.230, and for example, on the other side of the wall, we've got a point at 100.38. So we're talking 15 or so mils. And sorry, if I might just add to that, there's been the commentary made about council staff visiting the subject dwelling and looking out from inside towards the applicant's site, and the staff member has advised me that they did do that, and there is no overlooking from that ground floor window into the applicant's property, given the height of the 2 metre wall.
Thank you for that clarification, Beck. Members, I think we should put this to the vote. It's a very unfortunate situation, really, that we should be having to adjudicate on a matter like this. But I'm not going to add anything further. I think enough has been said. So I will put the recommendation, which is that the application be refused. It's a retrospective application, so that will lead to further action by the council, possibly. Members, those in favour of the recommendation as printed, please advise. Right, and those against? Right, so that's carried, 3 votes to 2. So I can advise that the panel has now adopted the recommendation in the minutes, in the agenda, which is to refuse development plan consent to the screen wall. So that decision will be advised to all parties formally within the next few days, probably within the next 5 days. And your rights and so on will be outlined in that correspondence. So thank you very much, parties, for your attendance tonight and your submissions. We'll now move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Members, the final item tonight for approval is 2 to 8 Hocking Place in Adelaide. It's DA 506 of 2020, and it's the demolition of an existing building and the construction of a new 8-level building with retail tenancies, car parking, and 11 apartments. The application was notified as a Category 2 to the adjoining owners and property occupants, but no representations were received. So there will be no hearing. I believe we might have Enzo Grocio with us in the virtual lounge. Is that right, Enzo?
Yes.
Enzo is the architect and applicant. So Enzo, if you could stand by just in case there are any questions, we would appreciate that.
Sure.
Members, we have a recommendation before us to grant development plan consent. There are some reserved matters which need to be tidied up in due course, and conditions, obviously. Would anybody like to ask any questions of the applicant, the staff, or make any particular comment? Throw it open. No? Everybody's relatively happy.
Mark, I just wanted to say, in a year without much positive excitement, I think this is it. And like lots of interesting architecture, it will cause controversy and be divisive, but I'm really excited about the boldness and imagination of this proposal. I think it's envisaged and desired within the zone. It meets the quantitative aims with very few shortfalls, and I think it fits into the location much better than a more conventionally modern design might, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you, Colleen. It's interesting that you say that, because this is a challenging design, and one could go one way or the other. Of course, we're not making subjective judgments on this. We are judging it against the provisions of the development plan. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Mads, did you have any comment?
Yeah, just brief comments. First of all, in terms of urban design, I think it's a very distinctive building that's corner of the square, and I think that is very positive. So for the whole square, it's a very good addition. I have to say that I find the contrasting architectural treatment, especially to the building that's to the west of it, is intriguing, to say the least. And I look forward to see how the two buildings will sit together. I have one particular issue I want to bring up, and I think I've done that before also, more to the administration. And that is, I don't think we should suggest that balconies are used for bicycle storage. I think balcony used for storage usually end up with a sort of a shabby image. And it should be possible for a development to incorporate sufficiently bicycle car parking that is accessible by the public and the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mads. Is there anything, did you want to take that further or just leave that comment lying? I'm thinking in terms of the resolution.
Of the building itself?
Yes.
No, I think it's an interesting building. It is just when you again look at the context in which it is, it certainly stands out. And we have the Trapo building right next to it, which is a completely different kind of architectural language. And I think it's just worthwhile bearing that in mind. But as such, I have no particular problems with the building.
Thank you, Mads. Just going to interrupt you. Aman, are you with us?
I just got an email saying that he's been ejected.
Yeah, I'm just trying
So
to
did I.
let Judy know that he's actually, Judy, if you can hear us, Aman's not in the meeting anymore. Can you let him back in, please?
I need Aman to rejoin via his link.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he's actually gone.
Okay, I'll just ring him because he just rang me.
Oh, okay, sorry, he might have just dropped out.
Okay, members, we'll just pause for a sec to, somebody's pressed the ejector button or something's happened. Maybe he's lost his power too.
It must have only just happened, Chair, because he was present to vote for item 3.2.
That's right. Let us know, see if you can get a hold of him. Par for the course, I think, in the year of COVID.
It was lucky we were allowed out on Sunday to go and visit, because some of these things, when you actually see it in the flesh, it looked quite different from the photos.
Yeah, absolutely. It was also nice to get out of the house.
Sorry to interrupt, Judy. Aman said he's unable to join the game. He's clicking on the link, but it says you're unable to join because you've previously been ejected by the host.
Oh, I didn't touch anything.
Apparently he's trying to, well, he is clicking on the link. So I don't know if there's anything coming up your end.
Have you still got him on the phone, Beck?
No.
I'm not receiving anything.
Look, I could, we could ring in and he could just sit here and talk through the phone. Or
That's what I was thinking at the very least.
Yeah.
We don't need to see him.
Yeah. Just bear with us for a minute.
See if you can get him back.
Yeah.
There he is. Connecting to audio.
Okay, I'm back.
Aman, you haven't been paying your power bills.
No, I was kicked out. I think I may have said something.
Yeah, you need to be careful. Aman, I don't know how much you saw, but we've heard from both Colleen and Mads, who are generally very supportive of the architecture and the proposal in total. Did you want to hear anything further they say, or are you did you hear enough of that?
No, I did not hear anything. So as soon as item, what was it, 3.2 finished, I was essentially cut off.
Oh, okay. Colleen and Mads, could you just in 30 seconds just quickly recap for Aman's information what your comments were?
Colleen?
Thanks, Mad. I think that it's very bold and it's interesting and exciting, and I think that it's an ideal solution for that corner of the square. And I know that there will be complaints and it will be divisive, but I think it's well done.
Thank you.
And Mads?
Yeah, very briefly. First of all, in terms of urban design, I think it's a good project. It takes up the corner of the square in a very distinctive way. My other comment was the immediate context to the building. That's a Trapo building that's next to it. It's a completely different architectural language. And it will be interesting to see how these two live together. But I can't say that I have any particular problems with the building itself. I look forward to it. So.
Thank you, Mads. Aman, perhaps I'll throw to you. Did you want to ask any questions or make any comments? You don't have to, obviously.
Yep, no questions at my end. I'm very happy with the recommendations. I'm also happy with the design of the building. Also very happy with the development of that corner of the city. And I hope that this here is the catalyst for some more bold designs and some more development of that precinct.
Thank you, Aman. Mark, did you want to conclude with anything before I? Mark.
Unmute. Sorry.
Thank
Back
you.
on. Yeah. No, I just concur with the other panel members. I thought when I first saw it, it looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. No, I really like it because it's not just another, not another glass box. So I think it looks really great. And obviously from a quantitative perspective ticks all the boxes as well. So I think it's pretty hard to knock it back.
Thank you, Mark. I'm glad you said that. I wasn't game to say that in front of Enzo, but I'm glad you did. Yep, there was one particular perspective there that really sort of conjured up an image of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Anyway, it does tick the boxes. I think all we need to do is just put this to the vote. The recommendation is that the item be approved, subject to reserve matters and conditions. Those in favour, please indicate. Right, so that is unanimous. Thank you, Enzo. You've got fairly strong support there for that project. And thank you for being on standby.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you very much.
Members, item 5.1, we've finished our applications. Item 5.1 is our recent lodgements. Has anybody found anything on the list that they'd like to have brought forward or to comment on at this stage? Yes, Matt.
Yeah, I just have a few. Number 38, that's the western facade of the Napier building, is going to be changed. I had hoped that it was a Napier building that was going to be changed, but it's obviously only the western facade. What is the change?
Good question, Mads. I cannot recall. However, it's already been approved. Right. It's obviously reasonably straightforward. I can give you an update tomorrow if you want me to let you know, but it's already been resolved.
No, that's fine. I have one other, and that is 66. Use of building for parking. That's 62 to 68 Curry.
Oh, okay. That's the building at the rear of Curry Street. It's already been used for car parking. However, they're actually wanting to change it to ancillary parking for the new Sofitel Hotel down the road. So it's just changing the tenure of the parking, but no impact on the streetscape, no impact on Curry Street.
Good. All right. And just a very last one, 119. A new statue. Where exactly is that going to be located?
119. Oh, that's in behind the walls of Government House.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So a new statue of Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay. All right.
And her corgi. No, actually, I don't think the corgi's with her. I think she's by herself. Oh, she's got a handbag.
All right. Well, that's all from you. Thanks.
That's okay.
Beck, I was wondering about 143 South Terrace, which is 9-level apartment building. Is that a new application? Because we approved something for that before.
Yeah. Which number is it on the
32?
Sorry, Colleen. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about anyway. Look, this is Yes, there's been 2 approvals on the site already. They're coming back again. Changing it. So you will probably see that at the next panel meeting. So the December meeting will come to you.
Okay. And the next one after that, 33, which is 5 Albert Lane, that's a funny little pocket sitting on a car park currently. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so this basically encompasses the car parking and it includes it into the development site, but has the dwellings above.
Are we likely to see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, good. Any others? No. All right. Well, just a show of hands to receive the report. All those in favour? Excellent. Thank you very much. Any other business? Does anybody wish to raise anything? No. Good. All right. So just note that the next meeting is scheduled for the 21st of December. There's no confidential matters to discuss. So if there's no further comments, I'll close the meeting at, I've lost my time slot, but I think it's about 6:28 or thereabouts. All right, thank you very much, members, for dealing with that. That was I think quite a, well, it was a bit tricky, but it was good to get through a full agenda in our COVID format. Hopefully we won't have to do this again, or at least not for a very long